Another thing that you need to know is your force field analysis. So we'll have a look more at this later and see an example when we get to our analysis tools section. But for now, or when we get to our models section, in fact, but you also need to be able to just explain this as well. So not only being able to do it, but just explain the idea behind it and the process as well. So Kurt Lewin's force field analysis is all about identifying and examining the driving forces, which we've just looked at, and the restraining forces for the implementation of a suggested change. So what is supporting that change or prompting that change to happen? Those are the driving forces. And what is restraining the change from happening or obstructing it or making it more difficult in some way? Those are the restraining forces. So we've looked at driving forces, legislative compliance, competition, things like that. And there are lots of different restraining forces as well. So it could be things like not having the finances to make that change, having different restrictions around lots of different resourcing restrictions with employees, with the skills that the employees have, and things like that. So to conduct a force field analysis, you need to, first of all, identify what those driving and restraining forces are. And then it's about assigning a score that's going to represent the level of influence of each of those forces. So 1 is the least influential and 5 is the most influential. So a score from 1 and 5 representing how influential that force is. And then based on those scores, you're going to get a tally and you're going to determine whether the driving or restraining forces are stronger. And from there, that's where you make some decisions and make some plans for where you're headed. So you can develop a strategy to try and successfully implement the change, and that's going to involve either strengthening the driving forces or weakening the restraining forces, or perhaps a little bit of both as well. Alternatively, you may notice based on this analysis that the change is really not feasible. Maybe the restraining forces are far outweighing the driving forces according to the force field analysis that you've done, and that's going to help you understand that the change is not going to be something that can be implemented right now. Perhaps that's going to show that it shouldn't be pursued now, but you should revisit it in future. Or perhaps it will show that the change really isn't ever going to be feasible.